Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to TechTeach Session 6. Today we'll be exploring the fundamentals of low code. My name is Danielle Keenan, and I'm the Social Responsibility Manager at Kainos, and I'm also part of Software NI Skills Committee. Software NI developed TechTeach, which is a monthly information session for teachers, and we want to share our skills and our experience with our local educators to help you to bring the latest technologies into the classroom. So I'm now delighted to introduce my colleague, Matthew Craig. Matt is a Dynamics 365 Power Platform Solution Architect at Kainos, a local software company, and Matt has prepared a great session on low code, including some really great demos on how you can use low code within your classroom. So Matt, thanks for joining us today. I'll now hand over to you.
Thank you, Danielle. Hi, everyone. As Danielle said, my name is Matthew Craig, or Matt. I'm a Dynamics 365 and Power Platform Solution Architect at Kainos, where I've been working for almost 26 years. I started out as a CRM developer, so building contact center solutions for the likes of Eircom in Dublin, Bank of Ireland in Belfast. And I discovered Microsoft CRM about 20 years ago. And that has slowly morphed into what is now known as Dynamics 365 and the wider Power Platform. And that's what I'm still working with now. So first of all, what's the difference between low code and the so-called pro code, or the traditional building bespoke software with the like a C# or Java? So if we look at low code to start with, it's mainly around user interface, data manipulation, automation. You tend not to build complex calculations or things like that into your low code solutions. You will still need to rely on pro code for that kind of stuff. It's usually a very drag and drop style interface. It's very easy to pick up and easy to use, not necessarily to use properly, but to build something quite easily with it. It's aimed, therefore, at what I'm calling the lowest common denominator, and you'll hear people talking about citizen developer when it comes to low code. The idea being that anybody can pick up this technology and put together an app or some sort of automation that will be useful to themselves or to a wider group of people. And I know I've mentioned that I've been working with the technology for around 20 years, but the whole low code movement is still very much in its infancy. It's really only the past 4 or 5 years where enterprise scale organizations have started looking at low code as a serious contender for building solutions. So comparing that then to what we now call pro code. So with that kind of technology, you're building everything from the user interface to the back end and the database and everything in between, multi-tier architectures and lots of complex calculations and processes and all the rest of it. Normally, you do it using a full-featured language such as C#, Java, or there's a bit of a resurgence in JavaScript at the minute. There are still people who are using some of the older languages like COBOL and C. Obviously, they're few and far between, but there are still legacy systems out there that run on those. It typically requires highly skilled developers. It's not something you're going to pick up on your tea break or over your lunch break and have something up and running by the end of the day. And it is, as you'd expect, very well established, and there are lots of supporting tools around it, such as source control, CI/CD pipelines, things like automated unit testing, all of these tools that make the developer's life less complex, less painful, is probably the best way to put it. So if I wanted you to take one thing away from this session today, it's that low code does not necessarily mean low complexity. Just because we're going down the low code route doesn't mean it's a simpler solution. And that's a trap that a lot of people sometimes fall into. They think low code, it's going to take less time to do. It's going to be easy to build, easy to maintain, and all the rest of it. And that's not necessarily the case. Yes, it increases the development time, or it shortens the development time because it makes development much faster. There's less unit testing because it's normally a well-defined framework that you're building within. So there's fewer things that can go wrong, but you still need to do all of the stuff around that. You still need to spend the time doing the analysis, getting the design right, doing the system and user acceptance testing, and that handover to the customer. And one of the biggest pain points that everybody's trying to solve at the minute is the kind of the governance that goes around that. So some of the stuff I mentioned that's available for the pro code, things like how do we store all this stuff in source control if there isn't necessarily any source code? How do we automate the build pipelines to get the code out to production? How do we do code reviews again if there's not code per se? What do we need to do there? And all of that other stuff that goes around it. So I'll talk about Microsoft Power Platform, mainly because it's probably the most mature low-code platform at the minute, and it's the one that we use within Kainos, and a lot of people seem to be picking up on it faster than any of its competitors. It spans Microsoft 365, so your Office applications and things like that, the Azure cloud platform, Dynamics 365, which is your CRM type solution, and there are a ton of standalone apps. So it consists of these 5 main components across the middle of the screen there, which I'll just run through very quickly. Power BI is your business analytics, so reports and dashboards and things like that. Power Apps lets you create applications very quickly that can pull data from a number of data sources. Power Automate is your process automation and workflows. Power Virtual Agents are intelligent chatbots, and Power Pages is what we use then for building external facing websites. And they're all underpinned by these key things across the bottom. So there are a lot of data connectors that come with Power Platform, so you can, without too much effort, plug into a SQL Server database or to SharePoint or to other applications outside of the Microsoft stack. And again, the number of data connectors that exist grow week on week on week as more people start to use it. Your AI builder does what it says on the tin. It's a large language model. You point it at an FAQ or a web page, and it builds an AI model for you. And then Dataverse is the main kind of data store for your Power Apps and your Power Automate. It's not the only one, but it's the one that's there natively out of the box. So where might low code in general, Power Platform in particular, help you as teachers in the classroom? So I've kind of split this into 2 separate sections. I'll take a look at some of the things where you as a teacher might be able to use the Power Platform or the low code technologies, and then I have a separate slide about where it might benefit some of the pupils. So in terms of teachers, you can do things like automate repetitive tasks. So, the example I've got there, and I have a demo to kind of show it, is sending reminders when homework or coursework is due. So you hand out a piece of coursework and you give people a date when it's due back. And you can create a very simple flow that will send them a Teams message or an email to remind them that it's due in 5 days or 3 days or whatever you want to remind them. You can build an application that allows you to manage data that you might traditionally have managed in Excel or on a piece of paper or somewhere else. And it gives you the ability to create a nice user-friendly interface that makes your life slightly easier. You can quickly illustrate concepts by putting together prototypes to help explain concepts as you're going through your lessons. And again, you can pull these things together very quickly, and you don't need to write code. So the classroom isn't sitting waiting for you to write a couple of methods to get something up and running. And you can do kind of live development demonstrations. So talk about some of the concepts and then build an application to illustrate that. And again, it's all drag and drop. It's all fairly simple to do. And the pupils then can go away and replicate that and build on it once you're finished. And then probably a slightly controversial one is to reduce the reliance on technology and focus on the process. So where I'm coming from here is treat your class as citizen developers. They all want to learn, but they don't necessarily have the time to upskill in a language. Some of them might not have the skills that some of the others have to quickly pick up languages. So you're kind of leveling the playing field here, and everybody can build something without any barriers to entry. The other thing then is reducing the need to teach languages at this stage, and this is probably more one that is for conversations at the next level up around the syllabus and the curriculum. Are the languages we're teaching kids now relevant now? I know certainly when I was at university, we had a specific teaching language called Modula 2 that I've never seen since. So you put all that effort into learning the language and you never use it again. Will it still be relevant when your pupils reach industry, when they go out into the big bad world and get jobs? Sometimes the like a C# and JavaScript probably will be. But if you've got a child who really likes Java and concentrates on Java and then gets a job in industry and their first project is to write a .NET project, then it's what's the point of learning Java in the first place? And are they aligned with languages taught in university courses? And I suppose these days they're probably slightly more aligned than they were 20 or 25 years ago, but there are still potential problems there. So for the pupils there, again, I've stressed that final point, reduce the reliance on technology. So it allows the pupils to get involved in practical sessions, but reduces the onus on them to learn any specific languages. So they can take the theory, they can build a solution and show it to you or the rest of the class, but they don't need to have, struggled with object-oriented languages and inheritance and all that other fun stuff that sometimes goes in one ear and out the other. They still are focusing on the problem-solving aspects and the software development concepts that kind of underpin everything we do here out in industry. The analysis process, the design, how do we test it, how do we design the user interface, all of that fun stuff. And it builds in on skills that they've learned in earlier years using technologies like Scratch, which is, I suppose, your Fisher-Price low-code platform. So the whole idea is we're leveling the playing field here. Everybody is working with the same set of tools. there's no real reliance on being a technical wizard to be able to use some of these tools. So I have a couple of quick demos that I'll run through. I've talked about some of these. There's an app to record test and coursework results throughout the year for you as a teacher. There's an automated flow that will remind pupils when coursework is due, and a chatbot that you can maybe set up an FAQ type chatbot. So if you set a piece of coursework and your pupils come to you one at a time with the exact same set of questions, you're not doing that repetitive answer. You point them at a chatbot, they get the answers they need, and they only come to you if there's something the chatbot can't help them with. So if I stop sharing that and share click on, sorry, 1 second. So that's that one. Power apps. Okay, hopefully you can all see my screen. So the first one I'm going to show is the app to record class results throughout the year. So it's a simple what we call a Canvas app, which means it's designed to be designed from the user interface down. The other option is the model-driven app, which is designed from the data layer up. Looks a lot less pretty. You can do a lot less with the interface, but the Canvas app, you can make it do whatever you want. And this one, you know, I'll be honest, I pointed Power Apps at a SharePoint list, and this is what it built. I haven't done anything with it. It gives me a list which I could have displayed as a grid, but the gallery view is fine for me. I can open an individual record and I can see the class test results and the 2 coursework results, and then I run an average, which is a calculation of adding those together and dividing them by 5. If I need to change a result, I can edit it and save it, and that then updates the main list. I can add a new record, so it gives me a blank version, and when I click the OK button, it will calculate the running average, and again add it to the list. So, you know, again, very simple. I pointed at a SharePoint list. It has created a browse screen, which is your gallery view or your grid. It gives me a detailed screen, which is your read-only version, and it gives me an edit screen, which is your edit stroke create new type functionality. And you can mess around with individual pieces on these screens. I can change background colors and all the rest of it, but I can do all that without writing a single line of code or doing much more than pointing it at a SharePoint list. So that's the Power App. The next one then is the Flow. It's logged me into the wrong. So I've got a flow here when this loads, and it's a fairly simple flow. it looks at a SharePoint list, and this is the SharePoint list here. So I've got all of the pupils listed down one side. I've got their email addresses, just because it was simpler to do that, but we could build something to go away to the Office 365 and grab their email address from their profile, and then the submission date um, for the coursework, which I'll actually change so that it is let's set it to tomorrow. Did that work? Nope. No, that's it. American dates. So what this flow will do is it will take a look at this SharePoint list, and it will bring me back a list of all of the records where the person hasn't submitted their coursework. So Bill will be the only person I get back. So I'll show you it does a get items were submitted as false, and then for each record it finds, it'll send an email and it will post a message in a Teams channel. So if I run that, you'll see it appear here on this run history page. And if I update it, it'll take a couple of seconds to run. You'll see that it has succeeded. So if I take a look at my Teams, there's the message at 14:23 today that says your coursework is due by the 15th. And again, I can format the date, but this was just a quick demo. So that shows you the power of automation and kind of automating repetitive tasks and taking some of the administrative burden off yourselves. The last one then is this pupil helper, which is a virtual assistant, and it's a chatbot, so it's a conversational chatbot. So as a pupil, I've been given a piece of coursework and I am struggling, so I'll come to the chatbot and I will say, how do I create a method in C#? And it will have a wee think about it. It's doing the same problem. I'll show you again over here. This is the same chatbot, just in a different user interface. So if I ask the same question, it'll have a wee think about it, and it will tell me you can find information about C# programming at this link, and I can go away to that link and read about it. Now, there are two ways you can do the chatbots. The first is the generative AI, which is the buzzword of the minute. You point the chatbot at an FAQ store, like a database or a SharePoint list or a OneNote or wherever you keep your frequently asked questions and answers, and it will build its knowledge base itself. The other slightly more manual way is you create topics through this design surface. So I've created a topic called C# programming, and basically it's as simple as you tell it what phrases to look out for, and then you tell it what answer to reply with. So you can see there's the link that I've pasted in. You can make your topics as complex or as simple as you want. So there's a simple topic with a condition. You'll see that it looks for a phrase It posts a message and then asks a question. Depending on the answer, then it will go down a different logic path and ask you different things or give you different information. And you can build that out to your heart's content. And the pupils will be able to use it anytime they're stuck on anything. Okay, I'll go back to my presentation for one last slide or two. So what's next for low code? What does the future hold? I mean, this is the Gartner Magic Quadrant for August 2023. So this is the latest Magic Quadrant. The logos on the right hand side are some of the names that you will find on the Magic Quadrant, and you'll see that there are some massive players in there. Microsoft, we've already talked about, Salesforce, Oracle, Google, some smaller names. The low code area is blowing up more or less at the minute. It's growing at a massive rate, and it's going to take over a larger proportion of software projects as we go along. Why would you write something bespoke when you can build it with low code for, you know, half the price? It's so much more maintainable and all the rest of it. So it is here to stay. It's something we need to get people interested in and looking at. And it is an alternative approach to that pure technical learning languages and writing code that might apply to some less technical minded people who still want to be involved in kind of building software. So just finish up, there's some resources. So that make.powerapps.com will take you to the Power Apps design surface. The next one will take you to the Power Automate design surface. And then there are a few Microsoft tutorials there on how to build Power Apps, how to build Power Automate flows, and how to work with virtual agents. And all of these are available on your Microsoft E3 or E5 licenses. So if you have access to Office 365 and SharePoint, you should also have access to the Power Platform, at least for the non-premium type stuff, which everything I've shown today is all non-premium. So that's me. I'll hand you back to Danielle. Thank you very much for your time.
Matthew, thank you very much for joining us today and sharing that fascinating insight to low code. I was so interested to hear about the future of low code as well. And what I'm hearing you say is that it's here to stay, it's not going anywhere, and it's going to continue to grow over the next couple of years. It was so interesting to see the chatbot as well for the students and the teacher. I can just see that that would be such a useful tool for both the teacher and the students. So really great demo. I definitely enjoyed that. So I will circulate the slides and the recording after today's session. If there's any follow-up questions, we're happy to answer those questions offline. So please feel free to reach out to us, and thanks again for your time.